You've lost hours of your life to conversations where you walked away thinking, why did I agree to that? A meeting you didn't need, a task that wasn't yours, a favor that drained your time. The truth is, you didn't decide freely. Your brain decided for you automatically, before you even had a chance to weigh the consequences. And that automatic reflex is the leak. It costs you focus, energy, and the very hours that should be invested into your highest goals. Today, you're going to learn how to cut that leak out of your system with one of the most powerful tools in social performance, the social pause protocol. This is not about becoming rude or robotic. It's about understanding how your brain is wired, why it betrays you in moments of social pressure, and how to override it with a 3-second algorithm that restores control instantly. Once you install this protocol, every negotiation, meeting, and conversation shifts in your favor because you're no longer trapped by autopilot compliance. Here's the reality. The human brain evolved in small tribes where rejection meant danger. When someone asked you for something, the safest reflex was to agree. That reflex is still alive today. The problem is, in a modern world, it works against you. The part of your brain that reacts in these situations is the anterior cingulate cortex. Its job is to detect conflict and trigger discomfort when you're about to break social harmony. That discomfort is processed milliseconds before your rational brain can analyze the situation. Which means when someone says, "Can you take this on?" or "Do you agree with me?" your body already starts priming to nod and say yes, even if the request destroys your schedule. This is why so many high performers find themselves overloaded. It's not because they don't know how to prioritize, it's because their biology is running outdated software. The first step of the social pause protocol is awareness of this hidden timing. Think of it like an invisible script running ahead of your conscious thought. The automatic script is fast: discomfort, compliance, relief. You feel pressure, you agree, and the discomfort disappears. The cycle is closed, but at the cost of your time and energy. To break it, you don't need a speech. You need a pause. 3 seconds of nothing. That pause interrupts the automatic script and reroutes control back to your rational brain, giving you the time to install a new choice. This is the essence of the protocol. Stop the reflex, regain the wheel. Here's how it works in practice. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone says, "We should add another report to this project. Can you take it?" Your reflex is to nod before you even process the workload. Instead, you deploy the social pause. You breathe once. That's 1 second. You shift your eyes slightly as if considering. That's 2 seconds. You let silence hang in the air. That's 3 seconds. By now, your rational mind has caught up. You're no longer a hostage to the reflex. You can evaluate. Does this align with my priorities? Is it strategic? Do I need more information before I commit? The pause buys you clarity, and clarity is leverage. The second step is pairing the pause with a prepared phrase. The reason people fear saying no is they imagine conflict. But you don't need a direct no. You need a precision response that holds your ground without sparking unnecessary friction. Here's the simplest one. Let me think about how that fits into my current priorities. This line does 2 things at once. First, it signals respect, so the social discomfort is diffused. Second, it creates space so you're not forced into an instant yes. The power is back in your court. By combining the 3-second pause with this phrase, you've built a mental firewall that protects your time. The third step is reinforcement. Every time you execute the pause, your brain learns that conflict does not lead to danger. The discomfort signal weakens. You're rewiring your anterior cingulate cortex to tolerate micro-discomfort without flinching. This is critical because social performance is a muscle. The first few pauses might feel awkward, but after a handful of repetitions, you'll notice something incredible. People start respecting your words more. Your yes carries more weight because it's no longer automatic. Your no doesn't trigger guilt because it's delivered with composure. The protocol has shifted not only your behavior but also how others perceive your authority. Let's break this down as a tactical framework. Step 1. Install awareness by noticing the reflex. Step 2. Deploy the 3-second pause using breath, eye movement, or silence. Step 3. Anchor it with a precision phrase that buys space and deflects pressure. Step 4. Reinforce until the pause becomes your new default. That's the social pause protocol in action. And here's the leverage. This doesn't just work in meetings. It works in salary negotiations, in personal conversations, even in high-stakes deals. Anywhere social pressure exists, the pause neutralizes it. Now let's go deeper into the neuroscience of why 3 seconds works. The reflexive system in your brain operates on what's called the amygdala-driven loop. It's lightning fast, built for survival. Your rational system centered in the prefrontal cortex is slower but more strategic. The pause creates a buffer between these two systems. 3 seconds is enough time for the slower prefrontal processes to engage and override the amygdala loop. Think of it like a circuit breaker. Without it, the current flows unchecked and the reflex wins. With it, you control the current and decide where the energy flows. This is not about being cold or detached. It's about timing your biology so you don't surrender your choices to outdated wiring. Here's an exercise you can run today to hardwire the protocol. Take a notepad and write 3 common scenarios where you usually overcommit. Maybe it's when your boss asks for help, when a client suggests an add-on, or when a colleague wants you to join another meeting. For each scenario, script your precision phrase in advance. Then, for 1 week, every time one of these situations arises, deploy the pause and use the phrase. Track how often you succeed. Even if you nail it 3 times out of 10, you're already rewiring the pattern. The win rate will climb as your nervous system adapts. You'll feel the shift. Less guilt, more authority, sharper focus on what truly matters. The final element is context control. The pause is powerful, but you need to deploy it in the right environments. For example, in casual conversations with friends, you don't need it. But in environments where decisions affect your calendar, your money, or your reputation, the pause is essential. By targeting these moments, you maximize the return on your effort. This is the hallmark of high performance, not just working harder, but deploying the right code in the right situation for exponential leverage. This is the first half of the social pause protocol. In the next section, we'll dig into advanced applications, like how to use the pause to gain negotiation power, how to deal with people who push past your silence, and how to scale this micro-habit into a lifelong advantage. The advanced layer of the social pause protocol is learning to use those 3 seconds not just as a defense, but as an offensive tool to shape outcomes. Silence is uncomfortable for most people, and when you hold it with composure, the other side often reveals more than they intended. They may justify their request, soften their position, or even offer alternatives before you say a word. In negotiations, this is pure leverage. You've shifted the balance from reactive compliance to active control. The pause becomes not only a shield against overcommitment, but a weapon for influence. Instead of you scrambling to fit into their frame, they start adjusting to yours. This is why top dealmakers, from CEOs to elite negotiators, rely on silence as much as they rely on speech. The pause forces the other person to fill the gap, and what they fill it with often gives you the exact opening you need. But what about people who don't respect silence? Some will try to push through, repeating their request or demanding an instant answer. That's where the second layer of the protocol comes in, pairing silence with a neutral verbal cue. Instead of jumping into a yes or a defensive no, you can say, "That's an interesting point," or "I need a second to think this through." These neutral fillers extend the pause without surrendering ground. You've acknowledged the person, but you haven't committed. The key here is tone. Delivered calmly and without apology, these short lines buy you more time and keep you in control. The mistake most people make is filling silence with over-explanation. That dilutes authority and invites more pressure. Your goal is to keep it sharp, short, and composed. This combination of silence plus a neutral cue creates a buffer zone that even the most aggressive counterpart cannot easily penetrate. Now let's talk about scaling this protocol from a micro skill into a core performance asset. Start with low-stakes environments. Use the pause in casual conversations where the cost of failure is 0. When someone asks your opinion on a restaurant or a small decision, pause for 3 seconds before answering. Train your nervous system to tolerate that space. Once it feels natural, escalate into higher-stakes situations. Deploy the pause in team meetings, client calls, or negotiations where your reflex used to betray you. By gradually increasing the stakes, you condition your brain to see the pause not as danger, but as power. The neural circuitry rewires through repetition, and soon the pause becomes automatic. Instead of autopilot compliance, autopilot composure becomes your default. Let's put this into a clear step-by-step system. Step 1. Practice the pause in safe contexts to build tolerance. Step 2. Pair silence with a neutral phrase when under pressure. Step 3. Extend into negotiations where silence forces valuable disclosures. Step 4. Track results and reinforce by reflecting on wins where the pause shifted the outcome. This reflection stage is critical. By consciously reviewing how the pause protected your time or strengthened your position, you lock the behavior into your long-term memory. Without reflection, you risk falling back into old reflexes. With it, you cement the new protocol as your default operating system. To make this concrete, let's run a simulation. Imagine you're in a budget meeting. Your colleague says, "We need you to take on this extra report by Friday." Old reflex, immediate yes, followed by regret. New protocol, 3-second pause. You breathe, shift your eyes, hold the silence. The colleague, sensing the gap, adds, "Or maybe we can push it to next week if that works better." Notice what happened. The pause itself created a better option without you asking. If the pressure continues, you add, "Let me think about how that fits into my current priorities." Now you're no longer cornered. You've regained time, control, and optionality. That's what leverage feels like in real life. And once you feel it, you'll never want to go back to autopilot compliance. Another advanced use of the pause is in persuasion. When you make a strong statement, don't rush to justify it. State your position, then pause. The silence communicates confidence. It signals that you don't need to oversell, because the weight of your words is enough. In group settings, this pause amplifies your authority. People lean in, waiting for what comes next. You control the tempo of the room. Leaders who master this technique create presence without saying more. They gain influence not through volume but through timing. That's the hidden power of the social pause protocol. It transforms not just what you say but how others perceive your status. Let's also address the psychological barrier most people face, the guilt of saying no. The pause dismantles guilt because it gives you time to frame your response strategically instead of emotionally. Guilt comes from rushing, from blurting out a no in a tone that sounds defensive or cold. With the pause, your tone stays calm. Your no is framed as alignment with priorities, not rejection of the person. Over time, you'll notice that people actually respect you more. They realize your time is valuable. They stop flooding you with low-value requests. Your boundaries create a feedback loop where others adapt to your standard. The pause, in other words, doesn't just change your brain. It reshapes the environment around you. Now here's the final upgrade. Once the pause becomes natural, combine it with body language. In those 3 seconds, straighten your posture, lean back slightly, or make measured eye contact. This non-verbal layer reinforces authority. The message is clear. You're considering carefully, not rushing under pressure. The combination of silence, composure, and precise phrasing creates a powerful presence that others can't ignore. You've turned a weakness, the reflex to comply, into a weapon of influence. That's the transformation the social pause protocol delivers. Here's your challenge. Over the next 7 days, commit to executing at least 5 deliberate social pauses in conversations where you'd normally react instantly. Write down what happened. Track whether the outcome was different. Did you avoid overcommitting? Did you gain new information? Did others show more respect for your input? You'll find that even a handful of pauses dramatically shifts your trajectory. You'll stop leaking hours and energy. You'll start building authority with every interaction. The pause may be only 3 seconds, but its impact compounds for a lifetime. This is how you reclaim control in conversations, negotiations, and daily interactions that quietly drain your potential. 3 seconds of silence, a neutral phrase, and a composed presence, that's the protocol. And if you're serious about building an arsenal of mental codes that give you the edge in performance, career, and influence, make sure you subscribe to Success Code. Every week we install another protocol that turns hidden leaks into strategic weapons. 3 seconds can change everything. Now imagine what happens when you install all the codes.